Ladies and gentlemen, before I begin, I want to ask you something powerful. Have you ever seen a life fall apart in front of your eyes, and yet somehow, the human spirit rises stronger than the storm itself? Today, I want to take you into one such journey. A journey of a woman who didn't just survive a natural disaster, she rebuilt herself into a force the world could no longer ignore. This is the story of a woman who had everything one day and nothing the next. In a single night, the storm came like a thief, destroying her home, her memories, her savings, and every piece of normal life she knew. And when the world goes dark like that, most people see only an ending. But she chose to see a beginning that hadn't yet been written. That's where her true strength began to shine. She stood in the mud and broken walls of her old life, not as a victim of circumstances, but as a warrior shaped by them. While others told her to move on, she made a decision far braver, to rebuild, but not the same way. She rebuilt with new purpose, new discipline, and an unbreakable mindset. And here's the hook that changes everything. When life strips you of everything, it also strips away your fears. She had nothing left to lose, so she dared to dream bigger than she ever had before. She worked day and night, took up jobs she never imagined doing, learned new skills she once thought were beyond her reach, and stepped into challenges most people would run from. Every brick she placed, every hour she struggled, every tear she wiped, became a testimony of her rise. And slowly, step by step, she built not just a house, not just a career, but a new version of herself. One that was wiser, one that was tougher, one that refused to let a disaster define her story. And the most powerful part? As she rebuilt her life, she began lifting others too, sharing her strength with people who had lost hope, teaching them that destruction is not the end of a life. Sometimes, it's the start of a destiny. She became a voice for resilience, a symbol of hope, and living proof that storms don't break everyone. They reveal the strongest among us. When everything she owned was reduced to wreckage, when the walls that once protected her were nothing but scattered debris, and when the life she had carefully built disappeared in a matter of minutes, she found herself standing in the middle of destruction with nothing but her breath and her heartbeat reminding her she was still alive. And here is where her bravery revealed itself, not in having the strength to hold on, but in having the courage to not fall apart. Most people imagine that bravery is loud, powerful, and dramatic, but in her case, it was quiet, steady, and unshakable. She stood there, surrounded by loss, and instead of collapsing, she whispered to herself, "This is not where my story ends." That single moment, that single sentence, became the turning point that separated who she was from who she was about to become. This is where brave women are born, not in comfort, but in chaos, not in certainty, but in the middle of life's most unpredictable storms. As a stories expert, I can tell you that many lives fall apart, but only a few people dare to rise from that kind of darkness with purpose still burning in their eyes. She was one of those rare women. Even as the world around her felt cold and merciless, she refused to give the disaster the power to define her future. And here comes the hook that might challenge you. When life takes everything from you, it also removes your excuses. She had nothing left to protect, nothing left to hide behind, nothing left to lose, and in that emptiness, she discovered a strength far greater than anything she had ever known. That strength didn't appear suddenly. It came from every memory she refused to let die, every dream she refused to bury, and every ounce of hope she refused to surrender. In the days that followed, people expected her to break, to drown in grief, to disappear into her loss, but she surprised them all. She showed up each day with a resilience that felt larger than the disaster itself. She didn't pretend she wasn't hurting. She didn't deny the pain. She simply decided that pain would not be the final chapter of her life. Even when her hands shook, even when her voice trembled, even when the nights felt unbearably heavy, she kept moving forward. And that is the signature of brave women. They do not escape the storm, they outlast it. She became a living reminder that when everything around you collapses, your spirit does not have to collapse with it. Her refusal to surrender became the first brick in rebuilding her future. There is a powerful truth hidden inside her journey. Pain can either break you or build you, and she chose the path that only brave women choose. She turned her pain into power. In the first days after the disaster, grief came at her like waves, relentless and overwhelming. Every memory stung, every quiet moment reminded her of everything she had lost, and every breath felt heavier than the last. But instead of letting that pain swallow her, she began studying it, understanding it, and slowly reshaping it. She realized that her suffering was not a punishment, it was a doorway. And as a stories expert, I can tell you this is where the most extraordinary transformations begin. Many people run from pain, but she did something far more courageous. She used it as her fuel. Here's the hook. Sometimes the very thing that hurts you the most becomes the reason you rise the highest. Day by day, she started transforming that emotional weight into forward momentum. She allowed herself to feel the loss, but refused to drown in it. She cried when she needed to, stood tall when it mattered, and kept reminding herself that she was still capable of building something meaningful out of nothing. And each time she wiped her tears, she wasn't getting weaker, she was getting clearer. Pain sharpened her focus, it stripped away distractions, and it forced her to confront the parts of herself she had been too busy to see before. She started asking new questions. Who do I want to become now? What kind of life can grow from this destruction? What would happen if I turned every painful moment into a step forward instead of a step back? And then came the shift that changed everything. She began using her experience not as a story of tragedy, but as a story of rebirth. She realized that surviving wasn't enough. She wanted to rise. She wanted to rebuild with intention, with strength, and with purpose. Every scar became a reminder of her endurance. Every doubt became a challenge she learned to overcome. And the world started seeing her differently, not as a victim of disaster, but as a woman who walked through the fire and came out with light in her eyes. She discovered that pain, when channeled correctly, becomes a force you cannot stop. It makes you wiser, tougher, more compassionate, and more determined than ever before. And that transformation, turning raw pain into unstoppable power, is what sets brave women apart. It is the moment where survival shifts into strength and strength into purpose. Starting from zero is a phrase people use lightly, but she lived it in the rawest, most unforgiving form. After the disaster, she had no savings, no home, no stability, and no clear path forward. But here's the twist most people don't expect. Sometimes losing everything removes the limits you once placed on yourself. When she looked at her empty hands, she understood something life-changing. If nothing was left, then everything was possible again. As a stories expert, I can tell you that this is the moment brave women transform. They don't wait for ideal circumstances. They create opportunity from the rubble. And she did exactly that. She began by taking any job she could find, not out of desperation, but out of determination to climb back up, one step at a time. In those early months, she worked jobs she had never imagined doing before. Hard labor, long shifts, exhausting tasks, none of it scared her anymore. She had faced a disaster and survived. No workplace challenge could compare to that. And here comes the hook that separates ordinary from extraordinary. She wasn't just working to survive, she was working to evolve. Every job taught her something new. Every skill she learned became a tool for rebuilding her future. While others saw her as a woman trying to recover, she saw herself as a woman in training, sharpening her mind and her abilities for something bigger than her circumstances. With time, she pushed herself into areas she had once believed were beyond her reach. She attended community classes, learned practical skills, studied online tutorials late into the night, and practiced until she became confident enough to step into higher-level opportunities. She refused to let fear, age, or doubt limit her choices. Brave women understand that when you don't know what comes next, you must build yourself into someone who can handle anything. And that is exactly what she did. She transformed her identity from someone who lost everything into someone capable of creating anything. The world started noticing her resilience, her discipline, her hunger to rise. She became known not for what she had survived, but for how fiercely she was rebuilding. She took on better jobs, negotiated smarter, made wiser decisions, and slowly started designing the life she wanted rather than settling for the life she had left. Every new skill she acquired became another brick in the foundation of her comeback. And the beauty of her journey is this: she didn't rebuild her life the same way. It came back stronger, smarter, and more meaningful because she built it with skills born from struggle, not comfort. Once she had rebuilt her life, something remarkable happened. She realized her journey wasn't meant to end with her own recovery. Strength like hers doesn't stay silent. It naturally reaches outward, pulling others out of their darkness. She understood that her story, once a painful memory, had become a lifeline for people who were drowning in their own struggles. And that is where her transformation reached its highest point. As a stories expert, I can tell you this: brave women don't rise just for themselves. They rise so they can light the way for others. She began sharing her experiences, not to show how strong she was, but to show others how strong they could be. And here comes the hook that catches every heart. Sometimes the hope you're searching for comes from someone who once had none left. People started coming to her, drawn not by perfection, but by authenticity. They saw in her the proof that loss isn't the end, and failure isn't final. When she spoke, she didn't use fancy words or dramatic speeches. She spoke with honesty, with vulnerability, and with the kind of wisdom that only someone who has survived the storm can offer. She volunteered in community centers, supported disaster victims, mentored women who felt stuck, and stood beside those who had lost everything, reminding them that life can be rebuilt, even when it looks impossible. Her presence alone became a message. If she could rise from ashes, so could they. But her impact didn't stop there. She became a symbol of resilience, someone whose strength quietly inspired others to believe in their own power. People who once felt invisible now felt seen. Women who thought they had no future found courage through her words. Families shattered by disaster found hope in her example. And this is what makes her story unforgettable. She didn't preach strength, she lived it, and because she lived it, others felt it deeply. Her life began to expand beyond her own goals. Every step she took forward created a ripple that lifted someone else. She started organizing small groups, teaching basic skills, sharing survival strategies, and offering emotional support to anyone who needed it. Her journey became a reminder that healing becomes even more meaningful when it's shared. And as she helped others rise, she discovered something profound. Lifting others didn't drain her strength, it multiplied it. Her resilience became a movement. Her kindness became a force, and her voice became a quiet revolution of hope. This is the legacy of brave women. They rise from disaster not only stronger, but also more compassionate, more connected, and more determined to ensure no one else faces their storm alone. She became the light she once desperately needed, and through that light, she helped countless others find their way back to themselves. So today, I ask you, what storm has shaken your life? What loss has tried to silence your future? Remember her story. Remember that the ground you fall on can become the ground you rise from. If she can rebuild her life from ashes, so can you. Stand up, breathe, and start again, because sometimes life doesn't give you a second chance. It gives you a stronger version of yourself. Thank you.